Hello, my favorite nerds and nerdesses. Welcome to another amazing episode of Spot of Nerd, the moment we've all been waiting for, my review of the latest Star Wars, The Last Jedi. Fair warning, it's been a week, so if you haven't seen the film and you don't want to be spoiled, look away now. If you don't want to know what goes on, look away now, go watch the film, and then come back. It's no secret, I was not exactly the biggest fan of this film. What it boils down to is many different things. I'm gonna try and summarize as much as I possibly can. I didn't say it was a bad film. There's a difference between Star Wars being great and there's a difference between Star Wars being good. For example, the prequels, horrible, but some of them are pretty good. If anything, I almost want to blame myself because I went into the film expecting Empire status. Instead, I was given Phantom Menace status. Phantom Menace, the first Star Wars film, basically took a big fat shit all over the Star Wars universe. Thanks, George. Appreciate that one. With The Last Jedi, it's almost as if we went into the theater with too high of an expectation for this film to be great. But there was many things that made it not great. From direction, from acting, from writing. I understand that you do have to try and set a different level for future generations, especially in the Star Wars universe. In the beginning-ish of the film, we see the First Order come down on the Resistance and essentially take out their fleet. As they're fleeing, Kylo Ren and several other TIE fighters start doing an attack run on the Resistance ship. We all assume that Kylo is just gonna shoot, kill his mother, and that'll be that. This is where the movie went downhill. Kylo doesn't have it in him to kill his mother. Two other TIE fighters right beside him fire torpedoes, blow out the entire bridge that Princess Leia was on. And I thought right there, I was like, okay, you know what? Carrie Fisher is dead. You can't exactly put her in the next film. If you want to do it this early, sure, okay, cool. We'll kill off Leia and move on with the story. And you start hearing her theme music and she literally does this Harry Potter thing and flies back into the ship. It was from that moment I realized this movie is not gonna be good. It was just way too out there. Again, I understand you want to try to be different and you want to try different things for this film, this franchise. That is not the way to do it. Even on a comedic sense, I think one of the biggest things, one of the biggest letdowns about this film was it was too Marvel. It was like I was watching a Guardians of the Galaxy film or Thor or whatever it may be. The slapstick comedy, it works to a certain level, but in this film, it was so unnecessary that you almost ruined so many different scenes. For example, at the end of Force Awakens, we haven't seen Luke yet, and Rey is of course on the island and she's handing his lightsaber, and it's, you know, you've got this really emotional, deep connected music. I haven't seen this lightsaber in 30 years. Who is this random person that's giving it to me? And you almost see Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker, tearing up. In The Last Jedi, when we're brought that scene and he just throws it over his shoulder. You can't make Star Wars a giant comedy. There is gonna be serious moments. Another thing that really bothered me about this film was, if anything, it's not necessarily the film, but it's also the fan base that completely bashed on J.J. Abrams as far as The Force Awakens being too similar to A New Hope. And I get that, trust me, I see that, I'm not blind. Starkiller Base, Death Star. Farm Boy, Desert Girl on Jakku. I get the similarities. You have to remember that J.J. Abrams had to bring this franchise into today's generation. Not only did he have 30 years of storytelling, but he had to incorporate the old cast and the new cast, start a new trilogy, all within 2 hours. Give the man a break. Let's remember, in this film, everybody that's preaching that, oh, this is a different Star Wars in a different arena and all this and all that. If you look closely, this movie is incredibly similar to The Empire Strikes Back. Giant walkers going on this salt planet where there's a lot of red dust. Did that not look like the Battle of Hoth to anybody? Another similarity is we get to see Yoda in this film. I thought that was completely unnecessary. There was no reason for Yoda to be in this film. Don't get me wrong, there is, I mean, again, the other half where It was an awesome scene because they didn't do a CGI fucking Yoda. But again, it was a scene that was completely unnecessary. You have Luke who's about to burn down the very first Jedi temple, the original texts of the Jedi religion. And you have Yoda being his Empire self, all giddy and kind of funny, which was good. Again, let me rephrase. It was a good scene. I thought it was very well done, but it was so unnecessary to this story. Like, if you wanted to be different, then why did you pull that nostalgia piece? It was almost as if when they were writing this movie, they're like, okay, we gotta have some sort of nostalgia. How about we just bring Yoda back? In Empire Strikes Back, Yoda is the one that, of course, is older and he's almost grumpy. You know, he's been on his own for so long. Yoda has now become Luke. Luke is grumpy, he's old, he doesn't want to teach the Jedi. Sounds pretty similar, right? As we're introduced to a new gal who is apparently Finn's love interest. I won't even go into that because that was just weird and awkward. Del Toro's character, DJ, I believe his name was. I just don't understand where this... I've been talking a lot about kind of on the negative side and why I didn't necessarily like this film. There's many other reasons as to why I didn't like this film. You really do have to give credit to Lucasfilm, Skywalker Ranch, but also real props, you know, the puppets and the casino. At the end of the film, Luke is force projecting himself on the planet of Crate. That is what's going to give the Resistance time to get off of that planet and escape. The sequence was amazing, but what killed it for me was you have Kylo and all his rage and his anger. You know, he's basically seeing Luke on the ground and he's saying, fire, 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 everything we have. You see Luke, once the clouds of gunfire just dissipates, you see Luke getting up out of the hole and he just does this brush shoulder thing. It's too Marvel. You can't do that in a Star Wars film. This is a powerful scene. It's Master and it's nephew. It's Ben and it's Kylo and it's Luke, and it's the first time that they've come together since being torn apart. So when this happens, it kills that emotion. It kills that scene just by a simple gesture. Something that did actually work very well was the death of Snoke. Wow. And talking to some of my friends, some of my roommates, it actually makes perfect sense now because we were so focused in on who this bad guy was. We had so many theories about who Snoke could be, maybe like one of the original Sith Lords. And it's a great scene. It really is probably one of the best scenes in the Star Wars universe. Not only is Snoke killed, but you have Kylo and Rey teaming up together to fight off Snoke's Imperial Guards. When Luke does his force projection, takes on Kylo, we do get to see Princess Leia and Luke come together for one final scene before Luke dies. And I thought it was actually really well done because Luke is that last beam of hope for the rebellion. He is coming to his sister to apologize. We now know that Kylo is on the dark side, and you can see it in Carrie Fisher's eyes, the way that she portrays Princess Leia. It's so great to see that after 30 plus years, she can still pull in that character. You can see her heart breaking, like, you know what, I understand my son is not coming back. I appreciate you being here. Please do what you can so that I can get everybody else out. And it was such a great scene. The ending of the film, I gotta talk about that. Rian Johnson, what were you thinking? I understand that this film tapped a little bit on hope. We have a new rebellion, but the way the film ends is a little boy, a little slave boy, force grabs a broom and he starts brooming, cleaning up a barn. The story does this. It kind of just goes everywhere. I wasn't able to enjoy it because I was too busy trying to concentrate on what the hell was going on. So with the end, you see this boy in the barn and then the credits roll and you're like, so what are we going to expect from the 9th film? Okay, then the rebellion has been started again, but there's like 9 of you left. 9 of you? And then you've got the First Order who has thousands of ships and thousands of people. I just want to make sure I'm very clear that Star Wars The Last Jedi was a good film. I will definitely classify it as one of my least favorite Star Wars films. Again, not because it was trying to be different or tell a different story. Now that Disney owns the rights to Star Wars, you have to differentiate Star Wars and Marvel and Disney. With Disney, you have kids, adults, adolescents, everybody. With Marvel, you have your comic book nerds, your fanboys, your fangirls, everybody you can possibly imagine. With Star Wars, you have legacy. Though there may be growing pains, the thing about a legacy is you have to continue that legacy. If the way you're doing it is slapstick comedy, or essentially copying what you do for another successful universe, this will go down the toilet. I am very hopeful for what the future of Star Wars may bring. I am very excited to see where Rey's path will go. I'm actually even accepting of the fact that maybe Rey's parents were nobodies, as we were told in this film. If that's the case, I'm actually okay with that, because of course Anakin was a slave himself before he became Darth Vader. I love films, I love fiction, and I love Star Wars particularly. If you know me well enough, you know that Star Wars is number one. You can see it in my heart. With Star Wars The Last Jedi, I think it's more maybe I need to reflect on the movie as a whole instead of just these little pieces. But I also hope that Disney takes into account that the fans, the people that love this franchise, we were just hoping for a little bit better. I saw Force Awakens about 72 times in theaters because it was that good. I just had to keep going to see it because it was so great. With Star Wars The Last Jedi, I've seen it about 4 times now. I'm okay not seeing it again. I'm gonna wrap this episode up. Thank you so much for watching. If you don't see me by the end of the year, I wish everybody a Happy New Year and a Merry Christmas. Take care, everybody.
It is indeed true that at times like this, Artu and I wish that we were more than just mechanical beings, and were really alive, so that we could share your feelings with you.
Chewbacca! Chewbacca, we were so relieved to hear you were all right.
All of you are an important part of my life, pal. I'm glad I could be here.
This holiday is yours, but we all share with you the hope that this day brings us closer to freedom and to harmony and to peace. No matter how different we appear, we're all the same in our struggle against the powers of evil and darkness. I hope that this day will always be a day of joy in which we can reconfirm our dedication and our courage, and more than anything else, our love for one another. This is the promise of the Tree of Life. We celebrate a day of peace, a day of harmony.
The rebel base will be in range in 30 minutes.
To live, to laugh, to dream, to grow, to trust, to love.
Fire at will, Commander.
All to eat.